We've also got to remind Blizzard President J. Allen Brack that his company has actually, it's done the opposite of what he said they would regarding the policing of people's social media accounts.
Wait, what?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of The Roundup. Of course, be sure to like, sub, and ring that bell to let the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoy the content. Okay, first up, a quick Activision story. So, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is a game that was pretty much renowned for getting extremely evil with its monetization, even putting new weapon unlocks inside its loot crates. This was pretty darn absurd, and it was a pretty darn transparent play to just get people to, like, pull that lever, you know, that loot box lever, that slot machine lever, to try to get the new weapons.
Yeah, just buy more money.
Now, what's very interesting is that with Call of Duty Black Ops 4 no longer being the in vogue Call of Duty, with of course Modern Warfare coming out recently, they've updated it to make it so that reserve cases can actually be traded in for weapons directly. You can trade in 50 reserve cases and just choose a weapon from a list that you want to get. This is, you know, far more fair. It's a direct way to earn those things, and it's pretty darn transparent that they've only done this once, you know, Black Ops 4 is no longer the mainline Call of Duty game.
Right, that way whenever the game's not selling any more boxes, they add in the, you know, direct purchases, because they can look like good guys whenever they do that, adding it into a game that almost has nobody buying microtransactions in it anymore because nobody gives a shit. The issue with games and microtransactions is the microtransactions become more valuable the more people are playing the game. So if a lot of people are playing a game, buying something like a cool weapon or something like that in the game matters more. That's why I think that private servers, for example, fake their populations. Because if you have a higher population, let's say you have a server with, 20,000 people on it, buying a scarab mount on that server is going to be worth comparatively more than if you're buying a scarab mount on a server that has 200 people on it, because you have that to show off to more people. And I think this is the same thing with a lot of these other larger games as well. Being able to show things off and having cool things that other people don't have, I think is a very big driving force in microtransactions in general, which is why you see a lot of these companies doing them, is because they want to lock those valuable things. They want to give that person the ability to show off and look cool, but lock that behind a paywall. And I think that's basically what happens.
Is of course a massive spit in the face to people who, you know, a month ago, 2 months ago, actually dropped their money into that game, you know, into those cases, or into the crates even, trying to get those guns. And I mean, as much as I would say that, you know, it's a pretty ill-advised decision to do that in the first place, I mean, this is a slap in the face to their paying customers. And it's worth noting there are, like, other components to this update, but this really is the core thing here. And I think the fact that they've been able to so quickly do this, I mean, it really does just expose how transparently silly those weapons being in the loot boxes were, and how much of just a terrible deal it was in the first place.
Of course,
and if anything, I really hope this is a cautionary tale to really dissuade people from partaking in any such loot box system in the future, especially in the Call of Duty franchise.
Sorry, I gotta read this. Have I watched a Jimquisition video on the insidious use of bots wearing premium skins in online games? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But I do want to see it. If there's a video about that, I will absolutely fucking watch it. Yeah, I totally will.
Then next up, we've got to help out our old friend J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard Entertainment. You see, he apologized for moving a bit too quickly and being a bit too harsh on BlizzCon, which, I mean, is not really what a lot of people wanted to hear, but yeah, he did confirm that the final decision is the 6-month ban. They're not
Nobody
changing
gave a
that.
shit.
But the side story here that I'm covering today is he said they're committed to freedom of expression, and that their rules only apply to, you know, being within an actual tournament, where they want the focus to be in the games. Well, Jay, I've got to break it to you, but your company actually went on to violate a part of your policy recently.
Really?
So here's what Jay said to PC Gamer. If you think about the people we have that are esports athletes, our grandmasters, or anyone participating in esports, they're free to say and do whatever they want on their social media channels. Well, first, I wonder if QXC agrees with that, but anyway. Are you sure, Jay? Because a few weeks ago, the Dallas Fuel coach posted a tweet in favor of BlizzCon. Now, you may not have seen that tweet because he was later told by the Overwatch League to delete it. So, you know what, Jay? That actually goes in the face of what you just said. So maybe you want to take a look at the internal decision-making there. Now, in the same PC Gamer interview, Jay also talked about the infamous Hearthstone statement on Weibo. Now, he said that they do not publish in China themselves and that they can't unless they work with a local partner. And in this case, case, of course, that is NetEase. Now, that is the case.
Yeah.
He's right there. That is how it works. If you're a Western game dev, you do have to give up a lot of control to get into China.
Of course
now,
you do.
Jay said
What a
that
surprise
that
there.
statement, the one involving the pride of China, was 100% from NetEase. He said this: "We did not authorize it. We did not approve it. We would not have approved it had they asked."
Of course not.
Now, here's the thing. I agree
Yeah.
with that bit of Jay's statement. That's
Yeah,
good to hear.
of course.
But they should have said it weeks ago when this actually happened. Yes, NetEase is their publishing partner, but that's it. The IP is Blizzard's. If your publishing partner says something that it goes against your brand, against your IP, you should say something to defend your brand. Now
I would agree with that.
It's, you know, fine for him to say that. It's safer.
I think it's just like it's a really messy situation, right? I mean, you can't just go in there and fucking say, oh yeah, we said this, but we didn't really mean to say it because these other people were saying it. And even though they're called Blizzard, they're not Blizzard. So it's like explaining that to the public is impossible to do. Like Jay, and like realistically, I mean, think about it like this, guys. Oh, what the fuck? The legs dropped. Is this my bis? Is this my bis? Oh my god. Am I about to win? No fucking way, man. He's ready. He's ready to hit 60 now. All right, let's zone out. Kagri, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. We have to do it in 5-man because we lose like half of the experience for like for doing it without a 5-man. And so thank you very much for coming. No, I really appreciate that. More geared than your warrior. I actually think my warlock might be more geared than my warrior, unironically. Love you. I love you too, Kagri. You guys can keep clearing through the instance or just go back and reset. I actually don't care. Just do it. Do whichever mobs you need to do. I also need to do fucking BRD, but I'll do that later. Okay, anyway, let me go back to the video. Sorry about that. I can't believe I got the fucking likes.
To say that,
Okay.
it's made Blizzard's stance clear there, but it doesn't mean much because the statement needed to happen far earlier when the story was actually breaking. All they needed to have done was to have said the Chinese Hearthstone account was ran by NetEase, which, I mean, yeah, we all did know, but they should have said that. They should have said they did not authorize the statement and that it's not a reflection of Blizzard's true values. Next, we are well and truly underway with financial reports season. Yes, we've got lots of numbers, and we've got a few different sets of them to talk about today. So, Sony have had a decrease in sales for their PlayStation Game and Network Services division of 17% year over year, with overall operating income also down 28%. Now, they also shipped 61.3 million games in Q2, which is down from 75.1 in Q2 last year. Why? Well, mostly the usual end-of-generation slump, but they did see an uptick of PS Plus members, but that said, it was a bit more than they expected. This has led to a 9% downward revision that is down to lower than expected software sales, including the impact of a change in the launch date of a first-party title. So, I think, quite obviously, it's
pretty big deal.
Us 2.
Oh,
now,
yeah!
we then also have Ubisoft's earnings report.
Delayed
now, this
that.
is one, if you were on the channel last week, you would have seen they got ahead on via press release. Now, the core of it is that Siege and Odyssey are doing super well, but that they've got a year-over-year decrease in Q2 sales of 9% and a 5% drop in net bookings, with overall operating income down 93.8% to 7.7 million.
Naturally.
Still, though, with them revamping their internal processes and a strong 2020 lineup, they have really good projected net bookings of 2.9 billion for that.
This
so,
would matter to me if I cared about video games besides
good
WoW.
for Ubisoft, and I've got to admit, I do like seeing the company take a short-term hit for long-term health and quality. Next, though, it's time to return to the slick corporate bad boy of EA, with their crop of sports titles actually performing pretty well, bumping up their total revenue by 4.7% year over year. Digital has also performed pretty well for EA, with downloaded titles accounting for 50% of sales across consoles, up from 40% last year. Then Apex Legends has reached 70 million lifetime players. Then Foot from the Ultimate Team
That's
and
a lot.
Holy saw
shit.
a 22 and 40%
70
jump
million
in players over last year. So you really can see those live services are doing well for them.
What
and
the
on
fuck?
that, well, EA COO and CFO Blake Jorgensen is understandably a bit thrilled. He stated that going forward, they're going to be doubling down on their live services combined with their core franchises. He said that they wish to...
Is live services the new word they use for microtransactions? I want to make sure that I know what's going on here. You know, you have to keep track of all this kind of stuff, okay? Yes, okay, so live services. Okay, see, you know how they just keep changing it a little bit? They just keep changing it a little bit. Okay, yeah, I see how that works.
Invest in games that people are going to play for longer and engage in more deeply, and that their goal is, big surprise here, to drive growth and profitability. What an incredible statement, Blake. Now, what does it actually mean here? Well, they also said that the next Battlefield entry is in fiscal year 2022, so likely Q3 or Q4 calendar 2021, and it's going to have a large live service component at its core, and that Apex Legends is going to be their main shooter through fiscal 2021. Again, it's another live service game. Seemingly, they think that Battlefield 5 Pacific can hold the fort, and another reason is that, well, according to Andrew Wilson, they want to actually wait a year or two for growth in the new consoles, which I think makes sense if you're going to be planting some seeds and you know the soil is going to be a bit more fertilized. Maybe you want to wait until the soil is good, and that's pretty much what they're going to be doing there. Then next up, we've got CSGO Key Trading. So, Valve have decided to stop letting players trade keys, confirming the newly purchased keys will now be tied to the purchasing account.
That's
and you might be wondering, why am I even talking about this? Does it matter?
Probably a good
CSGO?
thing, right?
Well, the effort was actually made to curtail worldwide fraud networks.
Yeah, it's got to be fraud. I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, having key giveaways is great, but is it worth having fraud on a massive scale? No. Like, of course they were going to do this. I was surprised they hadn't done this earlier. This is, of course.
Who use CSGO key selling to liquidate their gains, and much of that's a quote from Valve. Valve noted that previously the majority of key trades were actually between legitimate customers, but they said that nowadays, quote, nearly all key purchases that end up being traded or sold on the marketplace are believed to be fraud sourced. It's pretty wild, isn't it? Valve's war on fraud is, of course, pretty well documented. This most recent change does come following last year's adjustments to the trading system, which implemented a cooldown period that could actually put an item on hold for trading. Now, this step was, of course, intended to combat the use of automated Steam accounts to basically mimic player trading for fraud purposes. Valve did say that like this is unlikely to affect the vast majority of CSGO users
it's a 1%
who buy
problem.
keys to open containers, but they did admit that there are like some legitimate users who actually will be impacted by it. Still, they are nonetheless adamant that this ban is necessary, a necessary step in their efforts to combat fraud across Steam and other products in general. And that is very important, because if it's obvious that fraud is a major thing on Steam, then...
Well, it's a major thing everywhere. Like, the thing with fraud and, like, games and, like, having so much fraud in these fucking games. You know, why do they have so much fraud in the games? Here's why. It's because people can make money off of it. As long as they can make money off of it and, like, make these fucking key gens and shit. Like, you guys remember back in, like, the Pirate Bay days, right? Where people would try to download key gens and shit to, like, try to get in and get, like, this free stuff. I mean, like, this isn't a 5-head thing. This is literally a 1-head idea. It's nothing that's incredible. Like, yeah, obviously, people are going to try to do as much fucking shit to get free keys and everything like that as possible. So, like, these companies being smarter about how they give out keys and the distribution of the keys is only going to help them.
You know, Steam will attract attention from people who Steam probably doesn't want to attract too much attention from. Then next up, more Blizzard news, as it was last week revealed that several veteran developers decided to leave the company earlier this year. Now, this was around the time that they cancelled their StarCraft first-person shooter and multiple mobile projects in favor of focusing on Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, which of course were unveiled at BlizzCon. Now, these departures have notable names. We've got Dustin Browder, the former director of Heroes of the Storm and lead designer of StarCraft 2, which is where I know him from. We've got Eric Dodds, the former director of Hearthstone. Ben Brode actually took his job after that. And Jason Chase, who was Hearthstone's former production director.
At least we didn't lose anybody from WoW.
All these people decided to depart Blizzard and that they wish them the best, which of course makes sense. Is what you would say. Now, overall, I think this does make sense because two of them were working the StarCraft 1, another one was working on an unannounced project. They were cancelled, so it makes sense for them to move on. Maybe they're even working together now. It's hard to tell. Now, that said, I wonder if they
Ben
were
Brode
working
was
together
really
because
cool.
maybe
I liked
it'd
him.
be like a non-compete or snipe clause in their contracts, but I mean, overall it does make sense. Now, I have heard tales of changing culture there from like current and past employees, but overall I can't speak to why these individuals
I've heard
left,
the same thing.
But just think about it from your own perspective.
It's hard to
if
say.
you were working in a game for 3 years, you've been at a company for 10 or 15 years, and then, you know, your big new game gets cancelled, yeah, maybe you would feel like it's time to move on somewhere else and try something new.
Not a surprise there at all.
We've got something rather funny, as some of Fallout 76's premium players are caught up in a class war.
Geez.
Yeah, turns out that having that subscription actually gives you a new player icon, and that means people will know if you've paid. And yeah, people with the icon are getting some flack in-game. It's a funny situation. It's one.
We need to assemble and build gated communities for ourselves. Piss poor 76ers are targeting us. This is awesome.
We sometimes see across other games,
this is
such
great.
as players with Stormhouse in World of Warcraft having the /spit emote used on them. Now in this case, first players actually get an easier ride, right? They've got more convenience in return for their money, and that's something that no doubt will, well, piss people off. I think it could be a main thrust of the flack that they're receiving. Overall though, it's a problem that Bethesda will have to address.
There it is,
but
boys.
in the meantime, well,
that's us.
I mean,
we
it's
did
kind of
that.
fun to laugh at, isn't it? And then finally, to wrap up today's show, let's talk about some upcoming releases this week. And I mean, it's pretty darn simple, isn't it? We've got Red Dead Redemption 2 hitting PC, but only via the Rockstar launcher this week. It's not going to hit Epic, Steam, or Humble till later.
Wait, there's a Rockstar launcher too now? Why don't they just give every game its own launcher? Like, just give every game its own launcher. Like, you have to install a program just to play the game. Like, you can't just go to your program files and just click, you know, fucking the .exe file and play it. No, you've got to... Every game has to have its own fucking launcher.
Then Death Stranding also will hit this week, with it having a, I'd say, positive overall reception, but quite a large variance in the individual scores. It seems to be, I guess, a bit of an auteur-ish game. Now, it is actually set to come out on PC, but in 2022, with us not knowing much else past that. So, there you go, that's another edition of the Roundup, one that sadly was held back by me having a cold, but hey, what can you do? So, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the stories down below, and with that, I will see you next time.
Okay. What's the, I'm actually kind of curious about this whole thing with having bots running around with premium skins. I kind of have to watch that because it's so ridiculous, I actually don't believe it's true.